When I was a kid, I always had these extreme bouts of anxiety that would often make aspects of socializing difficult. And that would often make the real world seem like survival horror in itself. But when I was in high school, I remember a friend of mine wanted to borrow my copy of Super Smash Bros. For a tournament he wanted to run. I agreed, but as a promise that he would return it, he also let me borrow a game of his as collateral, one he actually chose. The game he gave me was Resident Evil, the remake for GameCube. This is slept-on masterpieces. Now, I'll admit, this review will be a little different than the last one. This isn't a game that I played recently for the first time, but it was out for a considerable amount of time before I got to play it. This is because, at the time, I never much cared for horror. Often in movies, I felt like I found myself yelling at the lead character for making dumb decisions that were clearly only written to get them killed. And that was always frustrating to me. It still is to this day. But the idea of playing a horror video game didn't strike me as up my alley in any way. And man, was I wrong. My friend never returned my copy of Smash Bros. But by the time I realized that my game was gone forever, I didn't mind. I had fallen head over heels in love with this game. And to this day, it's one of my favorite video game franchises. What makes this game so special? What gives it 5 stars out of 5? Well, it really comes down to a sense of fulfillment, an attention to detail. Everything in this game is painstakingly designed, from its level layout, enemy placement, environmental design, its atmospheric music. While Resident Evil may not have any certified bangers in its soundtrack, every bit of music is perfectly suited for the area that you're in and sets the mood and tone for what the game is trying to communicate, whether it's amplifying a sense of dread, encouraging exploration, or communicating a momentary reprieve. The music always lets you know what to expect, until the game breaks those conventions specifically and effectively. Resident Evil is a game about strategic thinking, puzzle solving, and learning to extrapolate clues. The monsters, what created them, and the mansion itself are all a mystery for you to unravel, and it all begins with the very first zombie you meet. In the beginning of the game, the Alpha team of the STARS unit, Special Tactics and Rescue Service, is sent in to investigate the disappearance of the STARS Bravo team in the Arklay Mountains,
who disappeared during the middle of their mission.
I never understood why this small Midwestern town had not one specialized SWAT unit that was in charge of rescuing people, but 2. What's going on, Raccoon City? What are you hiding? But as the Alpha team itself gets split up, Captain Wesker sends you to investigate a gunshot heard in another room. Now, depending on your player character, you either do this alone, or with the best bro in all of gaming, Barry Burton. Even with Barry by your side, though, he goes to investigate some blood. Somehow.
Blood. Jill, see if you can find any other clues. I'll be examining this.
I guess Barry is a forensic scientist as a hobby, so you go on alone. Now this is where I think survival horror video games resonate better than horror in other media. Because if I was watching a movie right now, I'd be saying, don't split up, that'll just get you killed. But in a game, I'm rooting for this move, because as intrinsically a nonsensical decision as this is, it would be no fun to be escorted by Barry in his Magnum Python throughout the entire game. So you go into the next room and you see it. The very first zombie, in all its gory glory. This encounter is designed to teach you everything you need to know about the game. Because if you try to fight this zombie immediately, it will eat you. the game over screen plays, and it's back to the title card, and you gotta start all the way over again. But if you're smart, you'll put some distance between you and the zombie, and you'll be able to take it out that way. Or, as you'll learn, it's often much more beneficial to avoid danger than to take things out immediately. But more on that later. You go back to report to Captain Wesker, and he's gone. And now you're in a mansion of monsters that all want to have you for breakfast.
We've already had it.
We've had one, yes. What about second breakfast?
At this point, the name of the game is Resource Management and Attention to Detail. Your inventory has only so many slots, and every item takes up the same amount of room. Could be a small key, could be a rocket launcher. They all take up the same amount of space in your, pocket? I don't know. Everything else needs to go in an item box, which are scattered throughout the game and are somehow all connected, because video games. So you'll want to stock up on weapons, ammo, healing items, because you never know when you're going to need them. But at the same time, you need to keep space open, because you're going to often find key items that you need to pick up. Even saving is a resource in this game, because you can only do it as many times as you have ink ribbons in your inventory, and only at places with typewriters. If you die, you go back to your most recent save. Better hope it was recent. If you find yourself needing to go back to get an item you need, you could wind up encountering an enemy more times than you need to, wasting ammo or healing items. On top of this, the remake of Resident Evil added a new level of intensity to encountering foes you've already killed. In the original game, if you killed a zombie and left the room, when you came back to that room, the body would be gone. Like a zombie janitor came in and disposed of the bodies for you.
I just cleaned up in here. Ungrateful stars.
A small bit into the remake, however, you find a note detailing that if zombies aren't dealt with properly, meaning they were beheaded or burnt, they will reanimate stronger and faster. This means if you killed a zombie and didn't dispose of them properly, they become a ticking time bomb that become much more of a serious problem down the road. So more often than not, it's more beneficial to let them stay in their base form and risk a slow-moving bite than to take it down for a temporary reprieve only to have unavoidable massive damage later on. You can burn bodies, but you only get so much fuel to do so, and to do it, you gotta take up more item space. This balance is what makes the game so tense but enthralling, and the more you play the game, the better you get at it. Which hallways are you going to use a lot? Which rooms are a one-time thing? These are the questions you need to ask yourself when you're deciding whether or not to clear them out. Another way this game tests your analytical skills is through puzzles. There are puzzles all over this game, and they are so much fun to figure out. Most aren't obviously laid out, but none are so obtuse that you can't figure it out by stepping back and looking at things from new angles. And by doing so, you understand the value of perspective, often literally. But the most fun puzzle to put together is the story. The twists and turns, learning the secrets of the Umbrella Corporation, the conspiracy that got you there, and who to trust. These twists and turns follow you throughout the mansion, an old servant's quarters, a mine, and finally, an underground lab. Umbrella has like 4 of these in the greater Raccoon City metropolitan area, because, and yet Chris doesn't know who they are? Chris Redfield, Master Sniper, not so much a Master Detective. What Resident Evil really excels at is it gives you a sense of alienation, a fear of the unknown. This is built into the mechanics of the gameplay itself through the camera. The fixed camera angles not only showcase what the game developers wanted you to see in vivid detail, but also to hide what they want to surprise you with. But as you explore more and more, you become better prepared to deal with the unknown. You get better and stronger, and not just through bigger weapons, but also in knowledge. By the end of the game, you are an undead killing machine, and that power fantasy is so satisfying. The first zombie can kill you because you're not distanced enough to know how to fight it, but by the end of the game, you've mastered how to fight them and when to avoid them. And this is a great lesson for those with anxiety, like myself. What you fear just needs better perspective. Looking at any problem up close can seem really intense, but It's more easily manageable when you take the appropriate steps to confront them, and the more you do it, the better you'll be. You can get so good at it, it doesn't matter how big or strong the obstacles even are. After all, it's not just zombies you fight in this game, but zombie dogs, ravens, hunters, giant spiders, snakes.
It's not just any ordinary snake. Take my word for it.
Sharks, Audrey 2, and the pinnacle of human potential, the Tyrant. All this variety in enemy types and boss battles teach you to believe in yourself. All except one. Lisa Trevor, who is by far the most important addition to this game from the original. Her design is chilling, her voice dreary and unnerving, but mostly her backstory is truly gut-wrenching. As you get deeper and deeper into the game, you will run into her several times, and none of these times can you hurt her. But the game does a very good job of making this clear so you don't go wasting your ammo. But by the time you reach your final confrontation with her, you really don't want to. You want to help her get the closure she needs. Her final boss fight isn't even about inflicting damage. It's about the reconciliation of past trauma, something that's crucial for even monsters. This made me feel like I could overcome any trauma that I have too. And I could get so good at it that I could overcome them even under extreme circumstances, like the threats are invisible, or one of the threats has grenades attached to him, so if I shoot him in the room, it's an automatic game over. Okay, maybe that last specific New Game Plus mode doesn't quite work for this metaphor, but the rest is still pretty apt. This was the first game I made an active effort to complete, doing everything the game had to offer. A tradition I keep strong to this day. But the replayability of this game is what really cemented that as a core concept of my gamer identity. Even the two player characters you can choose from give you drastically different experiences and challenges. While Jill can't take as much damage, she does have 2 more item slots and gets much better weapons much quicker. Chris has fewer item slots and has to put up with Rebecca Chambers, but is more likely to get critical hits and can burn enemies more easily as he always has the lighter. Whether it's unlocking new weapons or modes, there's always something bringing you back to this game for one more playthrough. This game changed how I saw video games and made me more confident to tackle difficult scenarios in real life. Resident Evil taught me with enough preparation, there's nothing I can't do, and the future titles of the series continued this trend. Sometimes to a fault. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new to the channel, I do have a few video game sketches, but be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more video game essays like this in the future. Thanks!